Welcome back to part 2 of The Guilty Feminist. So plug in and get ready for the fun.
Are the mics on? Are the mics on? We are back!
Welcome back. Did you have a good interval? Excellent.
We won't ask about the toilet.
No.
A big poo.
Oh.
What makes it so upsetting for you?
La, 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 la.
Okay. Can I ask one question? Would you consider it a phobia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, many questions. It's
just a sort of general discomfort of
discomfort for sure. I understand.
Yeah. No, it's not really a phobia. It's more like just a sort of like.
Yeah.
Our guest today is a journalist and editor with over a decade's experience writing for publications such as The Guardian, CNN, New Internationalist, and Time magazine. They have covered gender issues all over the world, particularly Uganda, where they lived for 5 years. Since June 2025, they have been investigating the anti-gender movement in the UK for Good Law Project. Please welcome to the stage Alice McCool. So, Alice, you have been doing stuff with, I don't know where we'd be without the Good Law Project in this country. They have been doing so many wonderful things. So thank you so much for coming to join us to tell us about those things.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's it's hard when you're up against the billionaire project of J.K. Rowling and all the other forces we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. It's really, really difficult because they're very well connected. They've got a lot of money and they've got a lot of strategy and they're very patient as well. So can you tell us, first of all, can you define the anti-gender movement? Because some people won't know what that means.
Yeah, of course. It encapsulates, I guess, when people think about it, they might think about trans rights, but actually what we're talking about on top of that is generally bodily autonomy. So we're also talking about women's rights, we're talking about abortion rights, reproductive rights. Yeah, it kind of encapsulates all of that and the forces that are against that.
The anti-gender movement, the essence of it was called the anti-gender movement before it had anything to do with transgender issues. What Neil Datta says, he's been on the show before. He's the head of the European Parliamentary Forum for Reproductive and Sexual Rights. And he says his job was completely normal up until about 2014. It was just helping European MPs who all had different kind of access and to women having cervical smears, getting contraception, having abortions. That was his job. And then he said something shifted, something happened. And it was the anti-gender movement. And at the heart of it, it's basically coming from American Christian nationalists. He describes it as the people that were standing shouting in the street at the front of abortion clinics. It was those people, he said, they put their signs down and they said, we're losing. We're losing the fight around the world. We've got to change tack. This isn't working. Shouting isn't working. And they asked the question, what do feminists already disagree on? How do we divide the movement?
Oh.
And the answer was trans rights, sex worker rights, surrogacy. And they said, we've got to put money into this. And I think they put feelers out for sex work and surrogacy as well. And the trans rights is the one that took off. Mm-hmm. So they put millions and millions and millions to divide the feminist movement and to divide the LGBTQ plus movement. And that's happened.
Yeah, that's super interesting because, I think about it from the legal perspective and the policy perspective and how we've seen the rollback there because it's literally a rollback of rights, of human rights. But I hadn't looked at it from the kind of cultural perspective. That's so interesting. And
there was a transgender person who won Big Brother around that time. No big deal. No one mentioned it. It was not even a thing. It was just she's trans. She's the funniest one. She's the best one. She's the one we liked.
And also, it's interesting when you talk to older trans people or people who were trans in the 2000s. They said that things really started to ramp up around the Brexit vote, actually. And it's been since then that the debate became so toxic and the media and the politicians, it's all these phrases and rhetoric started ramping up, basically. So it's quite interesting. It was around that time and onwards.
It's very interesting to me that none of the key players who would consider themselves to be feminists, who were otherwise would see themselves as progressive people, commented on Orange is the New Black, saw that as a dangerous thing, saw that as something they had to protect women from at the time. Everyone knows this show is extremely trans inclusive, and I'm very worried for trans people in this country and around the world at the moment. I think our side did not help on the internet because it was a particular time on the internet where the response to anybody saying anything was a big pile-on. And so I think we played into, I mean, our side, I don't like operating on the internet like that, I never have, but I think our side played into an escalation, and rather than saying to people, well, you could think of it like this, there was a lot of piling on, and as soon as you've asked a question, you're on the wrong side. So I don't think we helped, but I know that we didn't start it, and I know that we didn't escalate, and know that our side's got no money. And the money and the strategy, we're not strategic, and that's a problem. We've got to get strategic. We've got to get tactical. We've got to get strategic.
For sure, it's been a manufactured culture war, which a lot of actors, which we're going to talk about, have an interest in.
But I also now wonder if some of because a lot of it's bots, if a lot of the escalation on our side was also not planted in bots now. Now I think,
It's
oh
possible.
God, did we kind of fall into something that's strategic almost?
It's possible. I mean, you know, when you look at Russian influence campaigns on Twitter or Facebook, for example, you'll have them fueling both sides. So you'll have a meme which is attacking Reform voters, and you'll have one that's attacking Labour voters. And it's like the same thing. So yeah, fueling both sides is something that could well have happened. But yeah, based on the research I have, it's more on the well-funded side, which is the one that is fueling the attack on bodily autonomy and abortion rights.
And we saw
rights.
in the Epstein files, people like Bannon and Teal writing emails saying, oh, we've divided them, we've divided and conquered about Brexit. Brexit's just the beginning, congratulating themselves that they've done Brexit, and that's just the beginning. It's so strategic, and you just go, how did we not see what was happening and that we were being divided?
They commit to the bit. Like as soon as Roe versus Wade happened, it's been a campaign to get it rolled back since it happened. Like and they will play the long game.
And they were on that 5 decades, and they never, ever gave up.
Ever.
They never gave up. They're very patient. And our side's always like, what do we want? When do we want it? Now. And they're always like, when do we want it? When we can get it. And we will plant, we will be tactical, we will be strategic, we'll plant money, we'll breadcrumb. Neil thinks they've spent about $1 billion. He can't prove $1 billion, but he thinks it's about $1 billion. He can track a lot of it, but he said some of it's sort of dark underground money, but he thinks they've spent about £1 billion on the anti-gender movement in the UK and Europe.
Did it start? Did the anti-gender movement start in the UK?
No, it started in the United States of America.
Okay.
They came over here to have this conference, this underground conference. Do you know what it was that kicked it off? Do you know what provoked them? Does anyone know? Does anyone remember legislation that came in around 2012, 2013, both here and in France, that really pissed them off? And they went, we're losing. Yeah, it was same-sex marriage. That's what kicked them off. And they were fine. It was sort of when it was the Scandinavians, because they saw them as sort of outliers. They were
Don't
like,
you love that? They don't get, they're just like, they're democratic
they're
socialists.
like,
it's fine.
Yeah, they're like, the Swedes will marry a chair, whatever. Like, that's not proper. But they said, when it's the United Kingdom with the Queen, when it's France, this is the bastion of Europe. You know, but they said, no, we're losing. And that's what kicked it
Uglier
off.
people they're worried about. Come on. Scandinavian people are fucking beautiful.
I think they just do see it as a lost cause. It's sort of like, oh, it's all free education and free healthcare and, you know, paternity leave, things they despise. They're like, men aren't men if they take paternity leave. And what Neil says is they really do think that men's natural state is at war. Women should be at home pumping out babies. White babies are the babies we need because brown babies are replacing white babies, and that is genuinely their worldview. Like men's natural, at the heart, not everybody thinks that who's in the anti-gender movement, but he said at the deep, dark heart of it, they think men's natural state is at war.
Yeah.
And they think men should be men and women should be in the kitchen. And this is what
in
this
an
whole...
apron.
Yeah, not in a sex apron, with a funny slogan though.
And yeah, Neil's work is brilliant. And actually... his recent report for the European Commission was so interesting to me, and that's what got me onto some of the things that I'm going to talk about, because he actually found that I think it was 70% of anti-gender funding within Europe is coming from Europe, and I was like, that's crazy. We think of it as coming from the US.
And is it not anymore? Is it coming from Europe now?
I mean, it's partly coming from the US, but it's coming from Hungary, it's coming from Russia, Poland, really a global project. And I think, Hungary is an interesting case when all of the things you spoke about there, the pronatalism, the great replacement theory, Trump really looked to Viktor Orban's Hungary as a kind of inspiration for what they wanted to do in the US. Orban has been voted out now, however.
Yes. He got voted out in the middle of our Cardiff show. We did a big show before the Senedd elections in Cardiff, a big Road to Gilead show. So can you, before we get into this stuff, can you just, a lot of people will be worried about the EHRC ruling. So ERCH is the
EHCR.
EHCR. I always get this wrong.
I hate acronyms.
It's the
And the HMRC.
I know. EHCR. I'm so dyslexic about these kinds of things.
Me too.
EHCR. So the EHCR is the
Equality and Human Rights Commission.
Thank you. And they have just ruled on.
They have just laid their latest code of practice, which is guidance. So I think it's important to remember that. It is guidance and not law. But it's on the back of the For Women Scotland ruling last year, which on the definition of a woman under the Equality Act, which has caused chaos over the past year and a lot of distress for gender diverse people. The initial code of practice was rushed out within a couple of weeks, I think, of the ruling. And it was a very extreme interpretation of the ruling, which has now had to be revised. I'm not an expert on it, I have to say. I'm not a lawyer.
Well, you'd be lucky. I actually am. And I've got some notes here.
But I have some initial things that I can say.
Yes.
Because I'm currently working for Good Law Project. In a week's time, I will not be. But I mean, the general reaction, I think, is we're really concerned about it. I think the example, that my colleague used is if a trans woman goes to a pub with a group of her cisgender women friends, she won't be able to go to the women's loos and she would have to explain why. And obviously, if you're not out, that's also extremely
But is it true
extremely
that she
harmful.
also can't go to the men's loo if she presents as femme, or that a trans man can't go to the men's loo now? What's the actual guidance? Because there was a while, this pre-guidance was you have to go to a third space, but a lot of places do not have a third space.
Yeah, exactly. I think that from what I understand, the new guidance is focused a lot on these third spaces, but I think there's also a problem because these third spaces are not always accessible.
Or they are literally accessible, and then where do disabled people go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a disabled person is not trans, then they're now queuing up for the loo that they might so desperately need, and there's only one disabled loo.
For sure. Although, I have heard some disability activists say that trans people are welcome in those spaces. But that's definitely an issue. And I think also it outs people, right? If they don't want to be outed and they have to use a third space, it's treating trans people as a kind of third gender in a way and othering them.
Have there ever been any reported cases of any trans people attacking anybody in a loo in this country ever?
I'm not sure.
I believe.
I don't think
Get your
so.
phones out, people. It's Google time.
I believe there has not. I believe there has never been one attack or one problem.
I don't think so either.
This is what frustrates me about a TERF is the only word I know to use.
I use anti-trans because I think it's become, like, for me, some people use it and they don't mind it at all. But
TERF is, I think, being qualified as hate speech now.
I think it sounds like a swear word. It's got the t and the.
I would also argue they're not feminists. And TERF is an acronym
Yeah,
for
it stands.
feminist.
If anyone doesn't know, it stands for Trans
Exclusionary
Radical Feminist.
So I would just say, anti-trans
I think that
activists.
the thing that's always missing in conversations about trans, it's always about trans women. It's never about trans men. There's so many holes in it, and that's what's frustrating. When anti-trans women are like, I don't want a man in my toilet. It's like, okay, and what about a trans man who has transitioned and it presents as very, very muscular and very, very masculine? You don't want them in your bathroom either. So who do you want in there? And when it comes to sport and the the fury around trans women in sport. Again, trans men are never ever brought up. And then there's non-binary people. Where do non-binary people go to the fucking toilet? It infuriates me that we focus sorry, I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm fully aware of that. But it's such a flawed logic. It's so poorly thought out. And that it's such an easy way, like now that you've said it, it's such an easy place to put a crowbar because all you're doing is focusing on one part of the trans community. You're not focusing on trans non-binary people. You're not focusing on trans men. And it's just, as someone who debated in high school, that is a very poorly thought out argument.
Yeah, yes.
No, I was just going to say, and I think, the how confusing the guidance is, which I could go on briefly, is a testament to that. It's nonsense, and it's this biological essentialism which just doesn't fit with our reality. You get, butch women who are, assigned female at birth, but they're butch, and then they get verbally or physically attacked by using the women's toilets.
I've got a friend whose wife is a butch lesbian, and she says she doesn't want to go to the loo anymore. And she says to her wife, "Will you come with me and talk to me? Because if we're talking, no one will have a go at me." And she's a butch lesbian. She's a woman. I mean, this is literal madness.
It's just, it's this thing of trying to define what a woman should be, which I find so extremely anti-feminist.
This is where what
women should look like.
We're going back into. Well, we had a professor who's the UK expert on fascism, who's a world expert on fascism.
I listened to that one.
He said it's a real hallmark of fascism that women must be women and present as women, and men must be men and present as men, and women must do women things and men must do men things.
Just to give a couple of pros, a couple of things which we can at least see a bit of progress on the latest guidance before we get into everything else, is that they're not trying to suggest that we're examining people's birth certificates before entering the loos.
Yes, because there was a while when they were saying you have to bring your birth certificate. Yeah.
Yep.
This is why they're trying to bring in this AI ID.
The IDs, yeah, for sure.
And then they know everything about us.
Yeah.
From that.
The anti-gender lobby is very interested in the ID stuff.
I mean, whatever you can say about Gilead and The Handmaid's Tale, it's very low tech, and it's just pull your hood up and scurry away. When they're going to be able to look at your ID and know every single thing about you, that's scary.
And then, just one other thing is that associations for women can also include trans people if you want to. So you could have a women's run club, which also is inclusive of trans people.
Little shout out to Hampstead Ponds.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And also just say someone in the audience who we met earlier has said that there's going to be an emergency demo about the guidance tomorrow, 11 a.m. at Parliament Square.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to go down at 11 a.m. Now, let's get into your work. Can you tell us a bit more about some of the groups you've been looking into, what they're up to in the UK and what their tactics are?
Yes. So I'll start. So there's ADF, Alliance Defending Freedom, which
I talked about before.
Yes. So they're connected. They're very much MAGA, Make America Great Again, Trump connected. They were central in overturning abortion rights in the US. In the US, they continue in terms of targeting trans healthcare. In the UK, their focus has largely been on buffer zones. So they're the safe zones that we have around clinics providing abortion care. So people who want to try and preach that a woman shouldn't be going for an abortion can't get too close to the buffer zone. So they do quite a lot of lawsuits here where they have anti-abortion activists deliberately breaching the safe zones, and then they defend them on the grounds of this free speech thing.
They tell them, pray quietly.
Silently pray, yeah.
All I'm doing is silently praying, but they're doing it in a way that's there to intimidate and to dissuade women from having an abortion.
Yeah, and that is clear. But then you even get, J.D. Vance spreading misinformation, spreading disinformation, actually, that in Scotland people were getting in trouble for silently praying in their homes near buffer zones.
Yes.
Obviously, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, Minority Report. We'll know if you're praying in your head in your own house. Yeah. And you'll be arrested immediately. That will be on QAnon and people will believe it.
And then he's literally being fed these lines by ADF via Nigel Farage. So yeah, we'll get into that. And yeah, then we've got Citizen Go, which you might be less familiar with. And so yeah, ADF is mainly lawsuits, I would say, or strategic litigation. Citizen Go, there are petitions, there are influence campaigns they do online, and also lawsuits. So they are a Spanish group, but they operate globally. And they're closely connected to Vox, which is the far-right party in Spain. And they've also received money from pro-Putin oligarchs.
Alice McCool would like to add that Citizen Go rejects European Parliamentary Forum evidence of this.
And yeah, they do all kinds of things around the world, campaigning against LGBT rights and abortion rights. I came across them during my time in East Africa. I think they campaign, they got a bunch of abortion clinics from Mary Stopes banned in Kenya. They did an online influence campaign to try and stop the Kenyan government from making progress to decriminalising homosexuality. And then now they're here and they are ramping up their presence here. We know this. And they are currently funding the legal challenge that we're seeing, which is against the puberty blocker trial.
Right, okay. So is this actually having an impact then on policy in the UK with, for example, within the NHS?
So, yeah, actions by these groups and the people linked to them, have directly contributed to changes on NHS policy on trans healthcare.
Can you give me an example?
Yes. So it began in 2020, right, with the rollback of trans healthcare in the UK, with the court case that Kira Bell, you might have heard of, is a detransitioner, brought. And ever since then, it's kind of been a gradual decline of trans healthcare, starting aimed at children and young people, but now there are investigations being done into provisions for adults as well.
Right.
So that first case involved a guy. Her lawyer is called Paul Conrath. Mm-hmm. And he comes up a lot. There's a few familiar faces that come up a lot in these court cases, and he has directly worked with ADF, the ones who overturned abortion rights in the US. He's also on the case against the puberty blockers now, which is being funded by Citizen Go. So there's lots of intersecting kind of factors here, but his argument, which I think is really crucial, in the 2020 trial was around this term Gillet competence, which is basically a legal principle, and it's around that it allows people under 16 to give consent to medical treatment, basically, and a doctor will decide if the person has Gillet competence. And he doesn't like this principle, basically, and he used it to argue against gender-affirming care for young people, although that case was later overturned. But the thing about that principle is that it's very key for abortion rights and reproductive rights as well. Because it would be using that same principle that a doctor would give a girl who is under 16 contraception or an abortion. So she should be, able to decide if that's something that she wants to do. So an erosion of that is really worrying and dangerous, basically. And I think that's what he's after.
We're seeing minors who in America who have been, sorry to use this word, but raped. And they took a load of children who'd been separated from their parents who were immigrants, who ICE took them away and imprisoned them on their own, their children. And a lot of them are now pregnant because they've been raped by ICE officers, and then they carted them all off to Texas because it's illegal to have an abortion in Texas, so they couldn't get abortions. You just go, what is this? It's evil. What is this? Why would you do this? Why? I don't understand it, but they've really, really, really feel very, very strongly about abortion. So because we have partially decriminalised abortion in this country, are we not safer now than we once were?
Yes. I mean, I think that there's been some really great steps regarding the decriminalisation of abortion in this country, but we don't have full decriminalisation. Like, there were 2 amendments that were going through, and the full decrim one did not go through. So that means it's not entrenched as a human right. It also means that healthcare providers and partners involved in an abortion can still be criminalised. And essentially what we're seeing is reform buddying up with a lot of these groups that I've been looking at, and making an increasing number of statements about abortion. I think, I don't know if you saw that Open Democracy piece a couple of days ago, maybe even yesterday, that said, within the past 2 years, mentions of abortion by Reform and Reform supporting accounts on X have gone up by 40%.
Jesus Christ.
You know, so I think Farage is being quite careful about what he's saying about it now, although he did want to reduce the term and
well, he started talking about it. We had Jane Bradley on, who was one of the journalists that broke the story in the New York Times. And then we had a second episode with her co-writing partner, Elizabeth Dias, and they did a big investigation and found that he was having secret meetings with the ADF. And then he started saying, well, we've got to have a lower week limit now. We must have that. And that's where it starts. They always start chipping away at the week limit, and then a few less weeks and a few less weeks and a few less weeks. And that is the goal.
And no safe zones.
And after that, he did say as well, he'd always thought equal marriage was wrong. He always thought same-sex marriage was wrong. So he's clearly in bed with them. If we let him get into government, like MAGA, then it will you'll see rights just stripped away, and he'll then start saying whatever the people who've given him the money.
He owes them. He owes them big time
to get in. Yeah,
and you know, this is despite I think it's 9 out of 10 of people in the UK are supportive of abortion rights, and even something like 84% of Reform voters are in support of abortion rights. So he doesn't actually care about what even his own supporters want.
I don't think he's against abortion. I just think he'll make a deal with any devil that will get him in.
Yeah, absolutely.
As if Donald Trump is against abortion.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine how much money that man has given to abortion?
Or how many women he's promised he will pay for their abortion and then hasn't.
Yeah.
More likely. But yeah, of course.
In terms of Citizen Go kind of directly influencing policy, I realised I wanted to go back to that. So this puberty blockers trial was kind of set in motion, and then it got paused. I don't know how many of you know that. To say as well, the puberty blockers trial, people are quite divided, both people who are anti-trans and people who are for trans rights, about the ethics of that trial. But anyway, it was close to going ahead, and it got paused. Northern Ireland pulled out of it first, and that they directly cited the Citizen Go funded trial as the reason for that. So that literally changed NHS policy in the north of Ireland. And then what followed was where Streeting actually a claimant involved in the trial with Keira Bell, then also mobilised people to sign a petition. So then it also got debated in Parliament. Then Wes Streeting ended up pausing the trial. And then what came out afterwards was that he did that. What he said was based on a letter that he got from the medicines regulator, an official at the medicines regulator, raising concerns about the trial. And then he's turned out to be biased, to have expressed anti-trans views on Twitter that I think were uncovered by Cathy Newman. So then he had to step down. So there's kind of a whole mix of reasons going on as to why this trial has been stopped. But it gives you a sense of the influence that these different groups are having, and the different people in positions of power who are biased on this issue, actually, and being put in these positions.
I think that I say this every time I come on the show. The web is so comprehensively woven, literally across the world. It is very difficult not to feel complete despair. And I know that that's what they want, and I know that that's how we stop from mobilising. But when it is money and power and technology, and it's all aimed at sexual health, it's all aimed at women, it's all aimed at trans people,
and gay people,
bisexual and queer people, it's.
So can I ask, is it all ideology, or are there other nefarious reasons for this? Because it can't be that all of these people think this at such a level that how can they care so much? Like, I know there are some people who care. There are some people who believe it. But why is so much money going into it?
Yeah, I think this is the question we all have, right? Like, what is in it for them, really?
What's the motivation?
Yeah. I mean, I think I will say something about ideology briefly. I mean, I think we've covered it a bit already. But, you know, I think that trans people, you know, living outside of this biological essentialism and the gender binary, that threatens the kind of social hierarchies that the far right require, like everything you were talking about in terms of, you know, the heterosexual nuclear family. And, you know, it's not just trans people who challenge that, that's LGBT people, that's even just women who don't have children. And that status quo is working for a lot of powerful people in this world. But there are obviously other reasons as well, right? So I think one would be that it's a really effective campaigning tool and also distraction tool, right? So you've got Citizen Go, for example, that has had this Putin-connected oligarch funding. You know, as we know, Russia is a state which has an interest in causing chaos and dividing, causing division in a country like the UK. You've also got fossil fuel companies, right? So there was a really interesting analysis done in the US of groups pushing against trans rights in the US. And I think it found, 80% of them got fossil fuel funding, basically.
I mean, is it just Bad Guy Incorporated at the moment?
Why do fossil fuels give money to, I mean, trans people drive cars. What?
Not like the big 4x4s that your picket fence.
Because they prefer a Prius. It's like, that's a lot.
What are we talking? Lesbians drive Subarus, famously.
There's something going on there.
Yeah,
that's very sinister.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think that fossil fuel companies benefit from the distraction factor, though. You know, we're all like that was. Did we speak about the Amnesty report?
The Amnesty report about the media.
This is like a cryptic crossword.
How many headlines there were?
Yeah,
that came out on the same day as the ruling.
Yeah, 17,000 articles. Between January 2020 and April 2025 about trans people.
There's fewer than 1% of the population in the UK is trans.
About 0.5. So that's 9 articles a day, with almost none of them actually including the voices of trans people, you know?
And so it's distracting from what's happening with fossil fuels. So if that's in the headlines and people are arguing about that, they don't notice the fracking that's going on or the fact that climate change is getting worse. So it's just a big old, look over there.
100%.
Oh, your real problem is the fact that your neighbour is an immigrant and someone you've never met is transgender.
Yeah, and it's really important to bring that in as well, like the scapegoating of migrants and all of this as well. It's really the same thing.
Yeah. Did you see the Oxfam report that said the 12 richest men in the world now own more wealth than the bottom half of humanity? That has happened very quickly. That was not the case when we were children. Normal people had a job or a business and could feed their family and own a home and go on a budget holiday. And when their kids grew up, they could have a slightly nicer holiday and a slightly nicer car. That is not the case anymore. Everybody's got a job and a side hustle. And so it's very easy to go, my child's school is overcrowded and underfunded. My mum's waiting for an operation. I can't make a living anymore. It's got to be someone's fault. And then Murdoch goes, I think it's the brown people around the corner. And then you go, yeah, it must be that because we can't see the billionaires. They're not here. They've owned huge houses in Knightsbridge, but they're never fucking in them.
Rupert Murdoch, what an animated ballsack. I say as a fellow Australian.
So we need to take some questions from the audience. Does anyone have a question for Alice?
How do we get people to see that the problem is capitalism?
So the question was, how do we get people to see that the problem is capitalism? I was
solve that,
and
Alice.
entirely unregulated capitalism now. There was a point when capitalism was regulated that people were only allowed to fleece the community for so much. When you're looking at, Musk becoming a trillionaire, he is not working that much harder than us. He's only got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and he's not smarter than anyone in this room. He's not.
He's not prettier than anyone in this room.
It's just exploitation.
100%. Yeah, that's a big question. I don't know. I think, I think the point that we made, I think it's about tying together, this type of politics, this kind of Trumpian style of politics and the sort of symbiotic relationship it has with the fossil fuel industry, with the anti-trans movement, with the anti-women movement, with the racist movement.
All the stock market play that goes on now, just before he announces another mad announcement, all of his friends and family buy or sell stocks in oil. And then you can see these huge spikes, and they're asked about it. And Trump was asked about it, saying, but isn't this insider trading? And he said, well, the whole world's a casino now. Yes, because that's what you made it. We don't want that, please. But he's just like, oh, well, that's how it is now. And that's how it is. This is what we see Farage doing with the 5 million quid. That's how it is. It's like, but it shouldn't be. You're meant to declare it. Like, what? It's just that's how it is of everything now. And I just think, I don't know why we're not taking to the streets more, to be honest.
Look, I've said this before on this podcast, but I moved over here 13 years ago. The English won't even take to the streets about their train prices. So I don't know how they're going to do it. Like, the train prices in this country are extortionate. They're the highest in Europe. It's unfathomable to me, and I've lived here for 13 years, that we're still not burning down buildings like the French. Honestly, it is...
Agreed, but the views of Felicity Ward are not necessarily those of the Guilty Feminist podcast. If any authorities are listening, I'm not advocating for burning things down. Felicity Ward's email address is felicityward@felicityward.com.
It is actually felicity@felicityward.com. That was
sorry.
Really good.
No, we've put it out there now.
I don't care. What am I going to do? Oh, no, read it? Oh, no. I have ADHD. I'm not going to read it for 3 years.
Any other questions? Anybody else got a question? There's a question there.
Not so much a question as a comment, I guess. I moved here in 2012. I'm also an immigrant from Lithuania. Brexit was an interesting time. It's interesting you said it started then, because I remember being on the tube and seeing flyers like restore the British families, mandatory 3 kids for every British couple. I wish I'd kept some. And it genuinely felt like living through a period just before a dystopian movie starts. And back home currently in Lithuania, we're fighting for our freedom of speech, because there's a lot of... basically, they're trying to restructure our equivalent of the BBC to Hungarian model. And there's a lot of protests going on. And on the internet, a lot of comments are saying, like, but what freedom of speech don't you have? What are you protesting for? And the answer is, you have to fight for it while you have it.
Yes.
Because when it's taken away, it's too late.
Yes.
And I feel like with a lot of these things, we're still in that period where we still have it. We have to fight to keep it.
Yes.
But how do we make the people see that, I guess?
Yes.
And yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, this thing of free speech you bring up as well, because I did this investigation into money coming from Viktor Orban's Hungary into the British anti-gender movement and general far-right movement. And it's just so ironic when you've got book bans happening in Hungary. You've got the destruction of the free press. Yet then you've got these free speech. These people are all for like free speech advocates, fighting for free speech here, but you're in bed with people who are banning books.
Well, there's free speech for a certain sort of... They want a certain sort of speech to be free, and they want a certain sort of speech to be totally banned.
Yeah,
which is always...
It's been totally co-opted as a phrase, and I think we need to be really aware of that.
That's always a bit true, whoever you are, that you want certain sorts of speech to be free and certain sorts of speech to be less free. But it seems to be extreme and manipulated now when we're coming into a very different time. We've got to finish. Is there anything you came to say, Alice, that you didn't get to say?
Just to say that seeing what has been happening in the UK to trans people, I lived in Uganda for 5 years. I saw what happened there. I saw the politicization of homophobia. It was not an issue there. People lived side by side, and it became politicized, fueled again by US Christian right, and then co-opted by politicians and the media to distract from a corrupt and failing economy. I saw what happened there, and I'm not being alarmist, but I just think, we need to see what has happened in other parts of the country, what these same groups have been doing in other parts of the world, and see this for what it is, actually.
My question is, what do the right disagree about? If the left have things that disagree about, What is something, and look, obviously this is a bigger question than right now, but if you could solve this problem entirely in the next minute and a half, that would be
The problem is the
very-
right disagree on a lot of things, but they come together to get what they want. And on the left, because they're usually about money. So if it's like, I might disagree with you, but if we can make $1.99 together, it doesn't really matter if we're ideologically opposed. Whereas we operate on ideology and on like what is correct, on ethics, on morality. So we say, well, I can't work with you if you're not morally aligned with me. And so we fragment. But I think we're coming into a time of we're having to understand we need to make coalitions.
There also has to be something. There has to be something. It's very, I agree with you about the left.
Like, Restore is there because people got kicked out of Reform for being too racist. You've got to wake up and have a look at yourself there, haven't you? Like, and then there's four.
Peter Dutton, that tried to go for Prime Minister in Australia, got kicked out of the Queensland police force for being too racist.
Wow.
Now that is a level of racism
Yeah.
not even England can try to attain.
It's extraordinary. But I think they are fragmenting in various ways, mostly about, policy. I think it is starting to happen here.
Yeah, I don't know about what's going to fragment them, but I think we can be more united for sure.
Yeah.
And I think trying to make clear in, any conversations you're having about the rise of the far right that the attack on trans rights is an attack on abortion rights.
Yes.
And we're seeing that really clearly. This
And it's a vote for fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And so on and so on.
Yeah.
And it's all aligned.
And AI.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, and AI, which terrifies me.
No, but this GP clinic in Brighton that has been being investigated and targeted for giving gender-affirming care. The data of some of those young people was taken without their consent. We've got Palantir in the NHS now, and the data was not just the data of trans young people, but the data of girls as well, cisgender girls, because they were being given the contraceptive pill. So you can see the slippery slope of where this is going, and they're getting young people's
Nowhere good.
Yeah,
Nowhere good.
young people's data about what contraception
Palantir's got all our data now. It's got all our data now. And then, we're seeing people arrested for criminal damage for Palestine Action who, smash stuff up, potentially going to be sentenced as terrorists. And that is a huge, huge deal. But the jury did not know they would be sentenced as terrorists. They weren't told that. We're at a time where we need to be on alert. And this Philippe Sands, who's this huge global human rights lawyer, he said yesterday at Charleston, he said, the more noise you make about it, the more art you make about it, the more you talk to your friends and family, he said, the only thing you can't do is do nothing. He said, you must not do nothing now. It's a real international, global emergency for human rights. There are various leaders who are behaving with impunity, and impunity is not only an hour long. And he said, you have to do something. Whatever you do, be doing something. Whether you are signing petitions, whether you're writing to your MP, whether you're writing a novel, he said, do it, do it, do it. And he said, you would be amazed how much art changes minds and how much over the years it has shifted public opinion, and ultimately public opinion, there's more of us than there are of them. It does shift things. Maybe we're coming into a different time now, but he said, whatever you do, don't do nothing. That bar out there, people meet each other in that bar and they just start talking about what they're going to do in that bar and what actions they're going to take. So please use this as your club, as your place where you come and just come along to these kind of little underground shows. We will be doing bigger shows as well, but I find these ones people do really connect. So please come along, and whatever you do, don't do nothing. The podcast is free. You can rate, review, and subscribe. Really helps people find it. But send someone an episode you've enjoyed or this episode on a WhatsApp and say, would you listen to this? Because I think we need to get people who are apolitical, who don't see the problem or don't understand what rights they might lose. We need to get them joining that fight. That's incredibly important. And singing to the choir is absolutely fine as far as I'm concerned. It motivates the choir and it makes the choir bigger. It draws more people into it. Please check out Alice McCool's journalism. You can Google them and you'll see it all over the shop, and you are joining the Nerve News.
Yes, I was going to say, if you're thinking about what you can do, I really do think subscribing to independent media. So The Nerve, Good Law Project, Queer AF, really incredible small queer outlet that do incredible reporting on this. Sign up and follow that kind of and support that kind of journalism and pay for it if you can.
Great. And lots of what we've talked about tonight, also, I've really unpacked it in my
Byline Times as well, sorry.
Oh, Byline Times, yes. I've unpacked some of in chapters 1 and 3 of my book, 6 Conversations We're Scared to Have, I've unpacked a lot of stuff about the anti-gender movement, and there's other chapters as well. There's a whole chapter on gender nonconformity that, unlike the podcast, is not free. Please buy it. It's out on paperback now, so you can afford it.
And if you want to take a picture in the toilet, it's felicity@felicityward.com.
You got any shows coming up?
I'm doing Edinburgh Fringe. I'm doing a show called I Wish I Could Come Out of My Shell. And because I'm so shy. And then I'll be doing some work in progresses. And other than that, I'm just working like a road hog that I am.
So at Felicity Ward, check out what she's doing too.
Go to my Instagram. I haven't updated my website. I'm sorry. I'm a shithouse. I gig all the time. Come and see me there.
Thank you so much. Can I have a big round of applause for Felicity Ward? Alice McCool? And the lovely people at the Museum of Comedy.
Yay!
And your good selves for coming. Please come back again. We love this audience.
And Deborah Frances-White.
Thank you so much. We've been the Guilty Feminist. This has been a Road to Gilead project. Good night. You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Felicity Ward, and our very special guest, Alice McCool. The recording engineer was Grundle Zimbra. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was composed by Mark Hodge. The producer was Tom Selinsky for The Spontaneous Shop. Thanks to Gina DCO, Zainab Mohammed, Ned Sedgwick, and everyone at the Museum of Comedy, as well as all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com. Brings me to When I'm a Feminist Bart. But I should do the opening titles first.
You should do the opening titles.
Okay,
this
just
is
one
very
second.
much how we work. If you haven't been to a Guilty Feminist, I feel like Deb brings the brains and I bring the tone down. But we both, one of us diagnosed, one undiagnosed with ADHD. So if that wasn't apparent, anyway. Shh.